Oh my goodness, we're live.
It's working.
Don't jinx it, don't jinx it. Oh my gosh, don't jinx it.
I've got wood here. I'm fine. Touch wood, touch wood, touch wood, touch wood.
What do I have? Oh, I have my little wooden dice
Oh, that's nice.
thing. This was a going away gift when I moved from
It's got
England.
a little loot on it, wasn't it?
It's beautiful. Look at that, look at that. And they actually they did a little hand carved dealio. Says roll for initiative. Scriv
Nice.
20. Isn't that cute?
Oh,
And there's like lovely dice in there.
That's so
One of
sweet.
them is also a gamer, and he donated a set of cool like looking metal dice. So it was a very, very special gift. And it's magnetic and I love it. It's so cool. So I keep it with me. I have certain objects that I keep nearby for inspiration, and this is one of them. That and a plate of cheese and crackers.
nice.
Oh my goodness. I hope people hop in soon so they can hear this ridiculous chatter. And of course, Tierna wanting to steal my cheese and crackers.
I've got Put mine over to pause that. Right, let's get to the stream. That Facebook ad was all wrong.
Oh no. Oh,
Got a
wrong.
broken link.
Oh no. Twitch isn't letting me comment in my own chat. I
Oh,
have to
no.
log in again, even though I'm already logged in.
Oh,
Oh heck. Oh heck. Oh heck. I hate forgetting my logins. Did it work? Did it work? Oh no. Oh. I think we're ready. Hello, scribblers. Oh my goodness. Oh, it has been a while. It has been an hot minute. as they say, as the youths say. I don't know if youths say that anymore. Do people still say that? It's been a hot minute? I'm pretty sure, but it might just be like us middle-aged nerds now. I'm middle-aged. So welcome back as Scriv confronts their mortality, and we have a wonderful subscribble from Knight. Hello, Knight. Hello. How are you, my friend? I hope you are doing well. We are back with Chill Creation, and of course with my very, very favorite game designer and co-creator, Hatchling DM. Bow, 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 bow. How have you been? It has been a long time since we did put the stream on hold, and we'll fill y'all in with some updates about life and such as we get ready to dive into creation. I feel like we gotta catch up. I hope everyone's cozy. I hope you have some tea or a beverage or a snack of some sort. It's catch up time. How have you been in the last 1 or 2 months or a couple months since we have streamed here for the Scribble fam? Rich, how you doing?
Well, I'm always busy, but like the convention sort of like circuit's been going well and it's been fun.
Oh yeah,
I've met a lot of people from the Twitter community in real life, in the Discord.
I love when
was
that
really
happens.
So cool, and they're all lovely people. We're just trying to fulfill all our projects at the moment, so it's all a bit hectic, as you know very well. It's close to your heart at the moment, the fulfillment and finishing games.
Oh yes, very close to my heart and my anxiety. I'm sure anxiety manifests in like organs in your body somewhere.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, stomach and heart,
Other
definitely.
than just like the obvious brain,
Yeah. Um,
like
Apart from
my
that,
kidneys or
pretty
something.
good. Things are going well. I've been doing a bit of work on this game in preparation for our restream, our reconnection. So
I
we
need
can
to
go through that tonight.
adjust
It'd
your
be good fun.
camera a little bit because you're you're a little off center. You don't need to change a darn thing though. I've fixed it. There we go. Yes, so I cannot wait to get back to this because I know we've had some good conversations off stream, talking about different ideas. So even though we have not been able to stream, and I'll explain why in a minute, we have still continued the creative process, and there is even more beautiful artwork and much more progress that has been made on the book for Cryptid Creeks, and we're excited to get back to it to continue our exclusive behind the scenes just game design series. So yeah, it's been a little while. Life has been busy, but in a very positive way. Also had some trouble accessing my Twitch account for a little while, but it's all fixed now, as you can see. I thought I was about to lose all my OBS overlays and everything, but it's good now. And I will say, even though you will still see me on Twitch, my Twitch streaming is going to predominantly move over to the Tattered Bear channel. So I'll make sure to tweet that out and probably link it in the chat as well. But it is just twitch.tv/tatteredbear. And I will also make some appearances on the Hatchling Games Twitch channel now and then. That does not mean I'm going to stop streaming Scriv the Bard content. That is going to continue. But I've made the decision to give YouTube a try. So we've got lots of stuff going on Twitch, but I also have our YouTube channel, and that is where we are actually housing all of our videos. So you have the actual play, you have the Bard RPG, you have the game design series with Cryptid Creeks. I put a bunch of Scribbler Hug stuff up there as well. So I'd like to refocus my own personal streaming energies to YouTube. Again, that doesn't mean we won't be hanging out on here, but I'm going to start that transition from this channel to that channel. Every now and again I might pop back in. But we'll see, and I'll keep all of you posted. What else has happened? Guys, I got married. Yay! And Rich was there!
I was there.
I've got the pictures back from the photographer and everything. But yes, my wonderful, wonderful partner, whomst I love dearly, we had our wedding at the start of May, so it's been a little over a month now. And it was lovely and a little bit overwhelming at times, but I have now since been able to take that time to recover. You know how when you spend so long planning for something, and then when the time comes, you can just kind of sit back. I gave a full, like, preparation presentation to my family and, like, my crew, what we've called the Queen's Guard. And of course my partner had the King's Guard and all of that. And I told them the night before the wedding, okay, here are all the plans, everything I've put into place so far. You have brochures, we're gonna watch some example videos so you know how the ceremony is supposed to go. Because it was a big multicultural event, and it was beautiful. But I went on autopilot on the day, and I'm glad I did. And then I was very, very, very burnt out for a very long time afterwards, but it was all worth it. So I would say to anyone out there, if you are planning a big event, whether that is like a family reunion or a big thing at work or in one of your hobby circles or a wedding, because I know I've actually got some folks out there who are preparing for a wedding themselves. It is the season, I guess. Take it easy on yourself. When the time comes, trust that you've done absolutely everything you can. And the most important thing for whatever event it is you're planning is that it happens. If there are hiccups, if things kind of like tweak out a little bit, it's fine. Everything will be fine. You will survive and treat yourself to a big ol' nap and some junk food when you're done, because you'll have earned it.
Exactly.
I'm just now getting back to like healthy food. I'm a little bit squishier now. I'm a big old Scriv squishmallow at the moment. But you know what? I'm rocking it and I love it.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah, lots of things. Thank you, Knight. Thank you. I might tweet some pictures out there if people want to see them. Just because I'm still in that mood, that kind of mindset of like, oh, that happened and it was lovely. It feels a little bit surreal still. But okay, enough of that silliness. Shall we get to creating?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. Okay. Where's my share screen? Chill creation. Boom. All right. Look at this. I think I can probably take away, since we've got some pictures in there already, I can probably move that one, and that looks nice. That looks swell. So let's start with a recap. Let's start with a recap because it has been a little while since we have gotten back to this. So let's take a quick look at where we've been and what we still have ahead of us. Would you like to do this one? Hatchling?
Yeah, so last session we were kind of on the brink of organising the actual playbooks for the game, and we were coming up with some of the moves, special moves, which we've called badges in the game because it's scout themed, obviously. And we've got, since then we've had Lucille and now Ashley, or Willow's quest, create art for the principal crowdfund essentially, but also for the main book, because you don't waste anything in this game.
Not at all. Not at all.
So we've got some amazing art done to represent the key characters that you'll see throughout the game. I really like games that have something you can focus on, or something you can relate to. So through Inspirals and Overalls, we had these 4 teams that were kind of represented throughout, in terms of the tests, in terms of the mechanics, in terms of some of the scenarios. And I think people, and like a lot of people have kind of said about that and commented on that it's kind of it's quite effective. So we're doing the same with this, and we've got Ashley to have a similar style set to Lucille, because I want the game to feel quite consistent. Sometimes you want a game that's got really a lot of variety and kind of a lot of depth in terms of the styles. But this one we want quite a focused aesthetic, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we have a very strong central theme.
Yes.
For this. Exactly. And when you have that strong central theme in design, you really want, this is just like for the folks out there, when you're putting a project together, you want everything that goes into that book from cover to cover to support that central theme. That's our approach from a game design standpoint. That's our approach from a content standpoint, to include artwork.
Yes. So everything, yeah, and it's the same principle for writing books. Anything that drifts away from the central conceit, kind of you need to sort of chop up a little bit or to get rid of. Well, the best thing we can do is probably go through the chapter, the contents list basically that I've written down, because it's
aye, Captain.
Some of the terms have changed. Some of the
should I start working on that crescent moon cattail soon?
You can do, actually, yeah. That would be awesome, because
I've had ideas and I've felt inspired again.
I'd love to have that in the quick start. I'd love to be at the beginning of the quick start. Basically, the quick start, we want to get that ready for the end of August, and it needs to be sort of a third of the book of the game.
We can do that. And if because we talked about having a sample adventure in there as well, if we want the sample adventure to be linked to the Crescent Moon Cat, that makes it nice and easy. Very, very smooth.
Yeah.
Woo! All right, y'all, we writing about cats.
Right, I need to move forward a little bit so I can see the document, where we're at with the document.
Do you have it pulled up on your screen as well?
I do.
The Google Docs, excellent.
So, Shall I go through it?
Yeah, let's just do
Yeah,
a
cool.
whole review for the
Yeah,
friends who have
so
followed us along at this point, and then for people who are just joining in.
exactly. So this is Cryptid Creeks. This is the a Powered by the Apocalypse RPG. Um, it's about you play a crew of scouts, river scouts, who are trying to essentially wake up an ancient cryptid to help you lift a curse that's affecting your town. And it takes place on a sort of quaint riverside community. So things haven't changed. So the book will start with what is Cryptid Creek. So it'll be an exclamation of the game and a setting.
And an exclamation. What
An
is
exclamation.
Cryptid Creeks? By golly.
Should have exclamation mark. And then we've got curses, cryptids, and calamities. So these are the kind of the central themes to the game, or the elements of the game.
And this is something that's a little bit new from when we last streamed, because we didn't really talk about curses and calamities as much.
No. So
that was a new development.
Yeah, there's certain things that I haven't quite fleshed out, or haven't decided what we should do with. And one of these elements is whether we make the game an actual place. Now that's quite an interesting question, because a lot of this game is inspired by Brindlewood Bay, and obviously that's named after an actual place, but ours doesn't have to be a real location. But we could have the game set in a river creek of our own design, or we can completely leave it up to the navigator GM.
I think there are pros and cons. I think, period, full stop. That's a sentence. That's the stream. Scriv thinks.
Yeah.
I think there are pros and cons to that. I think there are more pros than cons. So if we wanted to make Cryptid Creek its own thing, whether that is inspired by a real place, like where you grew up, which I think would be super, super cool and have that like beautiful personal element to it. Or if we take that inspiration but then fully fictionalize it, I think that does help to give another layer of I don't want to say physicality, but gravity. Because if it feels like Cryptid Creek is a place, then
Tangible, right?
It's tangible. It's a little bit more tangible in spite of the intangible nature of the game. I think that we can still have options for players to create their own creek, because I think creek creation is so very important, and I think that's a very integral part of the game for Session 0 and for campaign preparation. I think you can have both. So we can describe the original core Cryptid Creek through things like the Cryptid Tale, like the Crescent Moon Cat story. We can provide a description of the things there, but have it immersive, yet also free-flowing enough where everyone can interpret it a little bit differently.
Okay, yep.
If that's an approach that we want to go for, because I think having something a little bit more tangible in mind can also help us when it comes to the visualization and the creation side of things for this book. I wouldn't want to have it so strictly defined that people feel like they can't diverge from it. This is not a campaign setting. But no. Cryptid Creek can be a place. But Cryptid Creek can be in any creek, you know, all around the world. If I would love if families picked up this game in the future, in the not too distant future, and imagined their own stories about Cryptid Creek near the creeks and waterways and ponds that they live near.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's go to Cryptid Creek. Cryptid Creek is everywhere, is every creek.
Perfect. That's exactly what I kind of wanted to hear.
Yay!
I hadn't quite come to that conclusion, but that's perfect. So
it's kind of like Narnia is inside every wardrobe.
So if we have the basically the core book will be essentially one big example. So the characters will have names, the creek will have a name and locations and etc. And the short stories in it will have links to real places. And then we'll have a section at the second half of the book, which will be about creating your own creek setup. Perfect, right?
Yeah, I think that sounds perfect.
Cool. So as we carry on down the document, so what you need is really easy, just D6 dice and things, and some handouts. Then we got the River Scout Promise, which I've fleshed out and made a little bit cleaner, and that's really nice. That's a really nice little element. So it's tied with the safety tools basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about like a philosophy of play, really, like an etiquette. But we've created it in the style of a River Scout kind of
like an
promise.
oath.
Yeah, like an oath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like me to, as we're doing this recap, scroll through so people can skim through what's in the guidebook, or keep it to this list for now?
We'll go through this first, and then we'll go
Okay.
down to the bits I've written.
Perfect.
Then the River Scouts is the first half of the book, basically, after the introduction. And then we've got a session 0, and we're talking about safety tools there. We've got the traditional lines and veils. We've got jibing, which is basically moving away from a subject that's problematic, or it's not heading in a good way. Move to the city is literally leaving the session or the group entirely. It's kind of a narrative resolution for that. And then Sparks and Kindling is about creative, positive feedback, and also critical thinking about the actual sessions content.
I really love the word usage for all of these. Sparks and kindling?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't remember that?
Clearly it seems too cool for something for me to come up with, because my mind is going, no, that I couldn't have, no, that sounds like a Rich thing.
No.
Our creation. We did it together.
Yeah. Then we've got tone. So this is about different types of ways of running the session. So like humorous, light-hearted, all the way to like scary and serious.
I like that. Can I interject just quickly there? I really like the use of tone in this versus genre. For example, because Cryptid Creeks already has its own kind of genre. It's not fully fantasy, it's not fully sci-fi, it's not fully like, it's not like Weird West or horror or anything like that, necessarily. But the use of tone brings some of that emotion into it, and it helps to guide the role playing as well. I think in a very kind of smooth, indirect way.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that. I like that as a design choice.
Isn't it? It's a nice little section to have. Then we've got. Let's double check this. Yes, that's right. So then we've got the terms. So we've got stats, misfortune. So stats are your basic statistics for your characters. So things like physicality here, intellect, mentality, personality, and sensitivity. So your characters and your scout books, they're called now, will have bonuses or minuses in those stats depending on what the character type you pick. Now, misfortunes are things that will happen to you while you play. So if you fail a roll, it will affect your kind of your statistics, your kind of like your move checks in the future, all sorts of things, and that's predominantly what the navigator, which is the GM of the game, will kind of like impart within their players.
Yeah, and the navigator will adjudicate it. So when it comes to non-combat centric games, it's always nice to have something like misfortunes or setbacks, challenges, difficulties, burdens, whatever word you want to use. Because of course for River Scouts, unlike some other TTRPGs out there, we're not doing hit points. And whether or not a system is designed around combat or not, usually the presence of hit points and armor class and things like that is a pretty good indicator, like what the core point, what the purpose of a game system is going to be. I'm not saying that's bad. I love my hack and slash. I think it's a lot of fun. I like my sword and sorcery. It's great. But it's nice when you have a non-combat centric game to really explore the other ways in which you can experience an additional challenge.
Yes, indeed.
I'm just gonna be the little like, ooh, comments.
I like that. I like that. That's great. Yeah, that's exactly the point. So this is not geared towards combat per se, but it's definitely going to have tension. And we'll go into that in a little while.
Tension is a good way of saying it.
Yes, exactly.
You can have tension without combat.
Scout books.
Yes.
Which are the playbooks in Powered by the Apocalypse.
With some really cool artwork coming up, y'all. It looks so good.
Amazing stuff coming out. The characters are currently being sort of rendered by Lucille. And then we've got moves and badges. So the moves are kind of like what every check you do is governed by these moves. And you have a pool of kind of basic moves that everyone uses. And you have badges which are kind of specific to each scout book. So these will be special moves. Some of them are one use per session. Yep, as I've said, the stats are there. Misfortunes, there's a few examples there on the document. So things like exhaustion, sort of like clouded, bit shaken, kind of like not communicating well with other people, so got a kind of abrasive approach, or skeptical, so you don't really believe in all the supernatural stuff happening around you, and therefore you can't tap into it.
And all of these things can be scaled.
Yes.
As well, in terms of severity, depending on like how significant the misfortune was, or how far below that required level your dice may have rolled. Exactly. I like the idea of these being able to build upon each other as well, or even having like layered misfortunes.
Yes, exactly. We could have combinations of misfortune. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be really interesting.
That could be a thing, where if someone already has exhausted, if you want to introduce additional challenge, if the stakes are higher. So for example, if we're getting to like a climactic moment in the story, or going after the big bad or the main antagonist, or like a moment of extreme tension, as a narrator, that is one of the ways in which you can balance out an encounter or a challenge of some sort. You can either, like the two like most basic ways of making it more difficult and like leveling up, right? A bigger bad, or more of a disadvantage, or a combination of the two. So not only could someone be skeptical, but when there's skepticism, when they're forced to face it in some way, then they could become shaken. Like you could have them interact in very interesting ways.
Exactly. And we can even have, and we're going to go into it in a little while, but we've got a thing called a curse clock. But if you get misfortunes piled upon each other, it could actually dramatically affect the rate that the curse clock is moved forward. That kind of makes sense.
I love that. So
that's really good.
That reminds me of something similar, but distinctly different enough in a board game, an actual tabletop game. Did you ever play Betrayal at Baldur's Gate? Or Betrayal at House on the Hill?
Is that based on...
It is D&D inspired.
Betrayal at the House on the Haunted Hill or whatever?
Yes, Baldur's Gate is like the next one after that. It is a D&D themed thing. But it very much has that feel of haunted house. Or haunted dungeon, whatever. It's a lot of fun. It's really, really good. But there's a point in there where it's like a haunt counter. So when you come across certain things, the chances of a haunt occurring, which then leads you to the scenario, the specific scenario that the party has to go through. The more things that happen, the more specific triggers that happen, the greater the chances of the haunt occurring. So you have like a tracker. How many curses, how many spooky things have you come across?
Yeah.
And then you have to roll for it each time. So say someone discovers a curse, you have to roll that number of d6s equal to the number of curses that have been discovered so far. And once you reach a certain threshold, then the haunt activates, and it's a board game, so obviously it's like GM-less, but it's a very interesting way to build tension. So I like that you have something similar but still distinctly different. We're not using the haunt counter kind of system in this, but a curse clock is a great way. Any tool that you use like that is a wonderful way to build that tension, especially if players have something tangible that they can use to like visibly track.
Yes, exactly.
As well. That visual element, the more of the senses, of the 5 senses that you can engage in storytelling of any kind, the more intense, the more immersive it will feel, even if you're just sitting around a table.
Excellent. I can't wait. We're gonna have some physical elements to the game, definitely. Some assets. So that's that. And then the scout books we've got now. So we've got 8 to choose from. In the quick start, we'll only have 3, but
which ones though?
An option to create your own.
Oh, I like that. So you could have like a blank template kind of sheet. Perfect.
You can take the badges as a combination from the previous 9 special moves.
Mm-hmm.
So
Perfect.
And then have your own statistics, whatever statistics you want, and then your own description of your scout.
We are building in and encouraging homebrew.
Exactly.
By doing that. I freaking love that. Yeah. That's so good. That's so cool.
Yeah. So with the quick start, we'll have the skipper, we'll have the medic, and we'll have the conduit.
That's a nice balance. Yeah.
And what on each scout book we've got name and pronouns, a style, which is kind of the aesthetic of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Your clubhouse role. So the hub area in the game is called the clubhouse, and there's actually a move for the clubhouse which removes your misfortunes. So when you kind of rest there and you create bonds with your other scout members and friends, you can kind of remove these misfortunes.
Which is so realistic. And you were mentioning earlier how it's nice when you have different elements in a game that feels personal, something that you can see yourself in, or something that you can directly connect to. That, for me, is a huge one. So, for example, went through the series of challenges and, tensions of having a wedding, right? I needed to spend a lot of time in my personal clubhouse just decompressing and relaxing and having some peace. This is a real life thing.
Yeah, it can even be in the clubhouse. If they want time to themselves, that could even be an action. It still clears them. So because when that chapter comes up about the clubhouse, we can go into that. We can go into the fact that you can clear the misfortunes by sort of like helping each other out, or
self-care,
spend time into yourself,
or
even play like a solo dart game or game of darts or something, anything like that.
Mini games.
Foosball.
Maybe in the future we'll release a little like what's the word? A little companion book of mini games for the clubhouse.
Exactly. Well,
that
there's
would
no
be
reason
fun.
why we can't have them in the actual game. I think we should.
That's true. That is true. That would be fun.
Many RPGs within a chapter.
No.
In fact, that would be absolutely awesome.
That would be really cool. Mini games. Oh my goodness.
Right, then we've got stats, which I've already been through. XP track, which is your typical kind of gaining experience from performing moves and succeeding. And your advancements, which will be a combination of stat increase, increased inventory, so your kind of kit is expanded, or new badges. So any combination of those 3 things, and possibly another one that I'll talk to you about in a minute, to do with the dinghy and the boat.
Oh yes, I think I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
So we've got stats.
So again, my 2 cents when it comes to advancements.
Yeah.
Having skill advancements, character leveling, skill trees, that's kind of a hallmark of what makes an RPG an RPG.
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. If it's a tabletop RPG, you have your character and you're continuing to add to their skill set in some way or their capacity. For computer RPGs, it's the same kind of thing. Like, you have the role-playing aspect, but I truly think that mechanically one of the hallmarks of an RPG type of game is to be able to continue to evolve. So I like this because it gives you options other than, like, in addition to badges and stats. Like, I like the fact that an advancement could be what kind of tools you have at your disposal. So having the kit and the boat, that's fantastic. Now, I think one of the things that we can dive into, and I think that would be a whole session on its own, each time, like, when someone advances, what those criteria are, but then does a player have to choose between, okay, well, this time I'm going to upgrade badges, next time I'll upgrade the boat, and are certain things going to be advanced collectively? Like, in order to upgrade the boat, is that going to have a different sort of list of criteria?
Yeah, you all have to contribute XP, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
maybe
it.
Maybe there could be something. So if we go down a bit further, I'll explain how the location works. So we're gonna have 3 creek inlets, basically, which is essentially 3 towns, and we're gonna mix and match the locations or the landmarks between these 3 settlements. But at the beginning of the game, say from session 1, you won't have the ability to get the boat to the furthest town.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a good idea.
But
it's a bit like Zelda.
I was about to say, that reminds me of Zelda Wind Waker.
Yeah, so you have to kind of like
I
unlock
love
certain things in order to reach that destination.
You're such a Zelda nerd, and I love it.
Yeah.
As you were describing it, it's like, that's Wind Waker.
That is Wind Waker,
I hear it, and I love it. That's one of my favorite Zelda games.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Don't come at me. I freaking love Wind Waker. In fact, I've been wanting to, because I still haven't played Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, because that one obviously just came out. But before I play those ones, I really want to actually go back and reacquire Wind Waker. So I played that one like on the freaking GameCube, which I don't have anymore. But I have my Nintendo Switch. So basically I want to go back and re-download like my favorite games. Wind Waker is not on there?
No, I don't think it's on there.
Where? Okay.
Sorry.
Scribblers, help me. Where can I play Wind Waker? No. Was it on Wii or was it on GameCube?
Wii U and GameCube.
Okay, it was on GameCube. I don't want a Wii. I don't want to Wii. But I want to Wind Wake.
I would like to stop that game. It's a brilliant game.
I'll figure it out. I'll find a simulator or something. Okay, moving on.
Backgrounds and bonds next.
Yes.
Backgrounds and bonds. So that's your typical Powered by the Apocalypse mechanic, where you create more individuality in your scale books with the backgrounds, and your bonds are to do with the clubhouse essentially, and how you interact with each other beyond the clubhouse. So when you're out and doing your trials, I'll explain what the trials are in a minute. Then you've got the clubhouse, you've got chosen activities and mini games.
Love it.
Oh, we've already written the mini games down.
That's okay. We'll write it twice because it's that important.
What did you don't give?
Yeah. So we'd already thought of that. Awesome.
Damn, we're good.
Change that to rolls. And then we've got dice. So you've got 2d6, and they've got advantage and disadvantage depending on your misfortunes and your bonuses. So that a lot of that will depend on the navigator and your kind of your sort of your move actions and the results of them. Talking about moves, so we've got the basic moves next. So these are at the heart of the game. This is basically how the whole game runs. So these basic moves are shared by every scout in the crew, and one even is a collaborative move. So the crew move would be everyone contributes.
I really like that one.
Yeah. got the curse move, which is used for investigation or any sort of sleuthing or research, and that's predominantly to do with what the actual curse is, and kind of like trying to pull it apart and kind of understand it. I guess, and try and find weaknesses maybe even.
That'll be a good session as well. A good creation session where we really dive into the curses and developing curses.
Oh, yeah. So again, the core book will have one curse as an example, and then we'll have a whole section on like homebrew basically, and like rolling tables and examples. We wanted to make this as accessible as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got the creek move, which is to do with the environment or to do with the setting, essentially. So anything to do with that. Then we've got the crew move, which is the collaborative one. So it's if your crew are in danger, actual danger or peril or risk. So I think I've changed risk to danger or peril.
And I'm adding collaborative in there because that's something that absolutely makes it unique from the other moves.
Yeah, and I think that might be one use. I think. I don't know. Don't write that down yet, because I'm not sure about that. I just don't want it to be overpowered, but we'll see.
We'll think through that, because I don't think any of the basic moves should necessarily be one use. However, maybe let's move the crew move a little bit lower in the list. Let's readdress that in the future.
Then we've got the chosen move, so that is a specific to the trials, which are now called trials. So the cryptid at the heart of the story is now called the keeper.
It
was called the guardian.
Mm-hmm.
But guardian's far too cheesy for me, and it's way overused. So.
It is overused. I think that guardian also has a connotation of a certain type of morality.
Yes.
As well. I think guardian has at least for most of us when it comes to storytelling, has that connotation of a good guardian. Good, aligned, whatever, if you wanted to look at it in terms of alignment. But keeper feels much more neutral. It feels like gray zone. It's like...
It also feels secretive.
It does sound secretive, which I think fits the theme of the investigation and the curses and everything much, much more cleanly. I really, really like keeper.
Excellent. Then we got the clubhouse move. Now, that is to clear misfortunes, as we already talked about. So you'd use that move within the clubhouse, and the rolls will determine how many you clear. So you might not actually clear all the misfortunes you have, because they can build up quite easily. Because, like I said, it's one of the navigator's main ways of essentially screwing over the players, or creating tension and
presenting challenges. We don't have to say screwing over. For presenting challenges and adding dynamic to the story. My camera's a little wonky here. There we go.
Yeah. Then we got the Cryptid move, which is any supernatural intervention. Which again is quite a vital move.
So is this going to be another one that the navigator initiates?
Yes, it will be. It will be to do with the navigator's kind of narrative. But the players still roll the move, so it's like depending on the success. So we got things called minor cryptids in the game. We haven't got an official name for them yet. We need a name, not like Pokemon, but something like that.
Yeah.
Because they are essentially like Pokemon.
Ooh. What if? Okay. You've got the minor cryptids and you have the major cryptid, which is the keeper. What if the minor cryptids are like sentinels. It doesn't have to be that word, but something that kind of suggests a subordinate level to the keeper.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure what we'll come up with it.
Because we need to think about the relation. Like, what is the relation of all these different cryptids? Do they all have a role in the creek? And it feels like they would. Each one would have some sort of role in the ecosystem, because we have such an environmental focus on the game and how the game is presented and like the core concepts of it. You know, you reach out to the cryptids, you save the creek, which is going into that closing move. Your ultimate goal is to save the creek and to save your home. So if we want to look at it from a natural point of view as well, like natural ecosystem in spite of the supernatural manifestation of that ecosystem, anything that naturally exists within that creek should be there for a reason. So you could even introduce some interesting biome kind of elements
that would be interesting
to this if you're talking about imbalances and disruption to balances and things like that.
And we might want to get Sakura involved from Animon's story.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
A lot of experience with that kind of hierarchical critters type thing.
Oops.
Might
I
reach
think
out.
I just did something. No, we're good. Okay. Now we're good.
Okay, cool.
I was worried I lost our video feed. I understand how this happens now. We're good. I fixed it.
Cool.
Sorry, we flickered in and out there,
that's
scribblers.
So that's that. So we'll come up with a name for them, and like I imagine them a bit like the Kodama from Princess Mononoke.
Yes, that's honestly what I imagine
in
in my mind. Yeah, I think that's very appropriate.
Perfect. So then you've got the final thing. The final basic move is the closing move, which is the last move you do after the campaign or after the one shot. So you make one final roll, depending on how you're doing the trials.
Which is bound to be a very climactic moment. So perhaps things like the crew move and the closing move, because you had said before that you want them to maybe only be used once. What if we, instead of having them bound by frequency, we just make them conditional? Because the closing move would have to be conditional. You can't start the game and do a closing move.
No. So should the crew move be only used when you feel like you're in serious danger?
We could have a list of example conditions. So when these conditions are met, then you can use X move.
Okay, cool.
We could do something like that, because it'll still have like the flexibility of interpretation, but it puts some guidelines around it.
We'll move that just before the closing.
I think they're very closely related, those two, in the way that we're going to be writing them. And this is something that I've had to do more with Bard as well, with Bard RPG. So having the different mechanics in there, but having very clear, easy to understand guidelines and conditions for those different mechanics. Because that's something that I know for me, if I'm writing a game system that I've come up with, I'll forget about that sometimes because it makes sense in my mind. And sometimes explaining something more simply feels like it seems obvious, you know, when you're staring at it and you're the one manipulating it, but it'll make it, it'll be appreciated by our readers and players, I think, if we have some clear conditions.
That clarity, it'd be brilliant. Yeah, exactly.
See, Resident Bard, I'm listening to your editing inputs.
This is an all-ages game, so we want it to be very accessible, you know.
Yes.
And then we've got badges. So
yeah.
These are the special moves we've come up so far for each scout book. But I think we need more.
More?
think so. I think we need more of a pool. Either
Okay.
more. I don't think we need more necessarily on the actual scout books, but we need a pool of ones we can.
Of the badges.
Yeah, additional badges basically, and custom badges.
Yes, so I like the idea of the scout book specific ones. Yeah, but having additional badges that anyone can choose from. Which again brings it back to that idea of the classic RPG skill tree. Where you have your different categories and you can shape things however way. If you want to have a balanced, well-rounded character, if you want a min-max, whatever it may be, you have that option. And custom badges, I still really like that. Were we going to still consider having like a workbook field journal kind of element to this? Because you could have little blanks for custom badges for like people to draw on and create.
I think we'd be missing a trick if we didn't have throughout the book have some sort of interactive elements all the way through it.
I think so too.
Yeah, and I think that could come in the glossary or the appendices. We can have some like really nice handouts in terms of creativity.
I'm still really enamored with the idea of cryptid cards.
Yes, I think we should do that as well. But
really
there might be a
want
way
to.
there might be a way we can bring them in, and I'll explain that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah. So the structure of play. So it'll be a recap if you've played a session before. It'll be the session intro. It will be. Oh, sorry, I missed out the kit. So that's just your inventory. Again, it's traditional.
Yeah, that one's self-explanatory.
Yeah. Then you got to set the scene. You got the curse progression. So has the curse moved on at all from the last session? So that's affected by the curse clock. So in fact, I can just change that.
Curse cluck. It's a chicken.
Then you've got the keeper trial,
Nice.
which is the main part of the game. So each session will be a keeper trial, basically. And just imagine if anyone's seen it or read it at home, it's going to be like Pan's Labyrinth. So it's going to be like things that the character goes through in that film.
So really, pretty early on in the game, the players will have the chance to interact, whether directly or indirectly, with that keeper.
Yes, so it'll be
Or an
indirect,
element
it'll be
of the
indirect
keeper.
right until the end session.
Yeah.
When they actually earn an audience with the keeper. So the trials will be put on by the minor cryptids, whatever we're going to call them.
I'm liking the
bit
word
like-
sentinel for some reason. It keeps popping up in my brain. I think I've got a
Sentinel.
minor fixation on that word.
For the little ones,
Yeah.
it feels a bit too
Is it too lofty?
yeah,
Okay.
I think so. It doesn't strike me as mini things.
Yeah, that's true. Although I like the idea of a tiny little cryptid feeling so self-important that they call themselves a sentinel.
Could call themselves it, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're the sentinels of the keeper. You should respect us, human child.
Yeah,
You dare mock me? And it's a tiny, like, bug-eyed little frog with a, I don't know, a leaf tail. I couldn't think of anything. Totoro would be a keeper.
Sentinel.
Or a sentinel?
Oh,
Totoro?
also the little ones might be sentinel.
The little ones could be
Totoro
sentinels,
is
but
definitely-
Totoro itself,
Totoro is
themselves is
definitely
definitely like keeper level. See, you could have adorable, soft, and cuddly cryptids too.
Oh,
Cat bus? I guess cat bus would be more like a sentinel.
Yeah.
You'd have the tiers. Oh, we're gonna have to have like a
Cat-
whole
cat bus is-
cryptid
cat bus is
hierarchy.
equivalent to the boat. Cat bus is equivalent to the boat.
Cat bus is cryptid boat.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nah.
And at one point, you could even get like a sentient boat. Which is very cool. Maybe that's the ultimate
Whoa.
upgrade. Maybe that's
That
the
could be the ultimate.
When you start to pile on the supernatural elements, it becomes.
Oh, conditions. So maybe you can't choose to make the boat sentient, but if you, so you could have different aspects of what you add to the boat, and if some of them are supernatural, the more you add to it, the boat will gradually gain sentience.
until the point where it can actually go under the water or like all sort of torches.
An
and stuff.
amphibious boat.
Exactly.
This is so freaking cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, we just come up with that, so
We have.
Let's add that tonight. Definitely.
Sick. Okay, this is good. This is why it's good to do a recap after a long break, because it just kickstarts all those creative engines going.
Then you have the session end, and then you have Sparks and Kindling.
Sparks and Kindling is coming back to me now. It's like, okay, I remember it. Yeah.
Complete. What's the jumping at? Oh, this is just about the balance between what you've got to do. Complete the Keeper trials to lift the curse. So that's basically the gameplay loop. Reflection and progression, advancement. So we've put in there what you can do. So dinghy upgrades we've added. I won't put a question mark there because we're going to definitely do that.
No question, certainty.
No question.
Dinghy upgrades are happening.
Mechanics,
yep.
Which that's to do with the boat scout book, which is actually have its own scout book. And then a summary.
Perfect.
And we've got the second half of the book, which is the Weatherworms. Is the short story.
Yep.
Which Sash is going to be doing.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Navigator. So what is your role? It's just a scouting story. So this is just a little section about making it about the player's story and not being obsessed with your own kind of narrative. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're just guiding
the
players.
Navigator guides.
Yes, exactly. Principles for the Navigator. Session 0 and tone. What is the curse? What is the cryptid? And what are the trials? So this is where it can come in. I thought it could come in. So the trial themes, right? This is where the deck of cards could come in. So you could have each.
Let's go into that a little bit because we haven't discussed the deck of cards on stream yet.
So essentially, the Navigator would come up with these 3 elements to each session, or the larger campaign. So they'll be either called an episode if it's a one shot, or they'll be called a series, because we want this to feel like a TV series essentially, or like a serialized podcast. So what is the curse? What is the cryptid? And what are the trials? So the trial themes, I haven't put these in stone yet, but my initial thought would be it would be puzzle based, obstacle based, errand based, or encounter based.
I'm a fan of those. I love that you put errand in there because there's always a delivery quest or an escort mission.
Yes, exactly. Fetch quest, yeah.
I really like that.
So
I'm a fan of puzzles, obstacles, and encounters. Those are very classic pillars for themes and challenges. That's what I use in Bard RPG. I've got puzzles, obstacles, encounters, and investigations.
Yep, so puzzles are concerned with mysteries, research, and investigation. Obstacles concerned with physical tests. Errands concerned with completing tasks for the minor cryptids. And an encounter is concerned with overcoming a danger. I think they're pretty good.
Very good.
And what the Navigator would do, they'd either construct it with those things in mind, or they would pick from a deck of cards the different suits.
I really like the idea of these themes not just being the types of challenges that someone would face, but an overarching theme for the trial. So for that session, for that episode or arc. I really like that because I think on one hand you could have a game session, you could have an episode that has a whole bunch of like very varied sorts of challenges. On the other hand, you could have an overarching theme with a whole, with things that fit into that theme, but that helps the players, that helps the scouts really get into a mindset where they can like focus in on that style of trial. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yes, exactly. And also, just thinking of, I mean, we could tie it to cards, but we could also skip that. It really depends on if we want to bring enough dynamicism to the sort of drawing of the cards. For instance, you could have get the deck of cards and shuffle them, select the top 8, say, and if both of them had hearts, say, or 2 of them are hearts, and or the predominant draw is hearts, then that would be the overall theme of the trial. I don't know. There's different ways to do it, but it seems to me, in hindsight, it might be overcomplicating it with the card deck, because you could just pick whichever one you want for your curse. Really,
I would say I like the idea of having cards and doing like some deck building sorts of things when it comes to creating your trials. I like that idea, and I like the tangible nature of it. And to me, a deck of playing cards still feels thematically linked to the idea of a scout and a scout troop. Yeah. Like, playing cards are something that you'd take camping with you, and at least for me, they definitely are. However, I would say that if this is the only application of a card deck kind of supplement, then it might feel a little bit out of place, because then you have this cool tool, but it's only used for this one thing. However, if we wanted to do cryptid cards, we could then have trial cards that match, maybe not like a full deck of cards, or maybe we use a full deck of cards in some way. But if you wanted to have the element of cards present in other aspects of the game with other mechanics that can be used, then I think that's something that we can play with. However, then we get to the line, or rather the boundary, the strange bridge between TTRPGs and a tabletop game with more physical components. I think that there are options for both of them here. I think you can have a cards and dice kind of game, and I've seen some systems or some examples of gameplay that do things like that. So I can't remember the name of the system or the type of game that the Critical Role folks did, but they did like a Western, a Weird West kind of thing, and I seem to remember them using cards in that somehow, like dealing cards.
Yeah, makes sense.
Almost doing like a blackjack kind of thing. I can't quite remember.
There's a ton of games set in the Wild West or sort of like
yeah. So if you wanted to have something like that for Cryptid Creek, because I still think it kind of fits thematically.
But we have to remember that this isn't a card game. So it would be reverse engineering, essentially.
It would be making it fit. It would be using cards because we want to use cards because it's cool, but then reverse engineering it to fit with a Powered by the Apocalypse kind of game. I think it could work. I'm not sold on the full deck of cards.
Yeah.
Because then when you have the focus on the suits and the numbers versus having trial cards and cryptid cards that you could use that's like more specific to this theme, it kind of clashes a little bit thematically, because then like how would we assign hearts, spades, clubs, and diamonds to puzzles, obstacles, errands, and encounters without having some other sort of like symbolism connotation overlaying with it?
We have one other option that we haven't explored in terms of cards, making it nothing to do with all these trials, making them reflect the badges.
Yes. Okay, so I was thinking about that because we were talking about all the badges and when you can use the badges, and then I was thinking about deck building, and I'm sorry I can't let go of my fixation on cryptid cards. If you had the cards as a tool to keep track of the moves and the abilities and the things that you have at your disposal, and then be able to play those cards and have a physical, tangible element to them, because that still, to me, feels like it fits with the scout kind of experience. Like you play cards, you know?
So they wouldn't be playing cards, they wouldn't have any numeric value, but they would be trading cards.
Yeah.
Trading cards.
Which is super retro scout. Like, I collected different trading cards when I grew up. So if you wanted to use a certain kind of badge move or collect a badge, you could, instead of having physical badges, you could have a card for it. Kind of like how in D&D they had the spellbook cards. You could have badge cards, and then each time you succeed in a trial with one of the minor cryptids, perhaps you earn a cryptid card.
That's perfect.
And then later on you can use that, because we also toyed with the idea of if you befriend the cryptids, then you can call upon them for aid in some way. Or there's some sort of trade. There's always a trade. Cryptids and fae in this sense are very, very similar, y'all. And it's a cool thought in my mind of being able to do that. Now, if we wanted to do this as a guaranteed part of the game, that's one thing, and we would consider that in the funding and everything. Now, that'll require more artwork, and that'll require printing. Or a download. Or a download file. We could always make it a stretch goal of some sort as well.
Yeah, we'll make it. We'll 100%.
We'll make it work. Yeah, but it's a cool idea, and it makes something kind of unique.
So whenever you have a physical asset in a game, you have to make it optional.
Yes.
Like even the sign language is optional in Inspirals. It's not tied to leveling or anything. So this would be just an optional extra. Like the Dragon Dowser deck of cards it's a custom deck of cards. It's beautiful, but you don't need it to play. You just need a traditional deck of cards. So we'll have these. We'll have a custom deck with trading cards for moves. Blank ones that you can write on. So like I can't remember what the term for it is. Kind of little mini whiteboards.
Like a blank. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can just put your move, your custom move on there. And then we'll have, like you say, we'll have these minor cryptid cash-in things, or like vouchers essentially.
Yeah.
Where
it's a calling card.
Yeah, if you want to reverse the curse clock, then you'd use one of those cards. Excellent. That's great. I think we should do that.
I'm a fan of this. Oh my goodness, this is hitting the right notes of nostalgia for me.
Yeah, it's starting to come together actually.
Whew.
Right.
Yes.
Exciting. Yeah. Then we've got trial locations. So these are just like things that are picked beforehand, session 0 essentially, or even before session 0, using the map. Then we've got characters, so we've got the NPCs, we've got the rival gang, which I think we should bring in. So they're also trying to discover this keeper.
What if the rival gang was connected to the curse clock? So once the curse clock got to a certain level, rival gang entered the arena, so to speak.
That works because we haven't got to the curse clock. We're going to get to it now, but that could be one of the calamities. It's set off. Perfect. Okay.
And that helps to build in a graduated levels for the difficulty of the game as well.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're the navigator, you could always choose to have an abbreviated curse clock. So if you want to play it on hard mode, start with the curse clock at a certain level, maybe. That's something that can be variable. I guess it would depend on if you want episode versus like a whole series saga sort of thing. But that would be fun to be able to manipulate it.
Continue on as well.
Yeah. Like if you want to start with something that's high stakes, that's a cool idea for a campaign. Start with high stakes. Kind of like one of those, like that whole idea of a D&D campaign where you start
so you
at
the
like
clock's further along than
like God tier, and then you see what happens afterwards, and you have to reset everything, like apocalypse mode. Whew. Sorry, that's beyond what we're at right now, but it was just a random thought, like how people could use the game once it's out in the wild.
Cool. I've written them down. Excellent. The curse clock's a whole session, literally.
Yeah.
Because the two elements that we need to work on beyond the scout books are the curse clock, which is essentially one half of the whole game, and the trials, which is the other half of it.
Yep.
Once we've got those sections down,
bless you,
the whole game's done. That's basically the game.
Yeah.
And the rest of it on top of that is just flavour, basically.
Yeah.
they're the key mechanics. That's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually do feel like after tonight, the fact that you responded to these changes that we brought in positively means that I think we are getting there, very much so.
We are. We absolutely are.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think, just in my brain, what we can do for our upcoming sessions, our upcoming streams as well. So we definitely need one that focuses purely on the boat and travel mechanics. We need one for the badges, like you said, and like the skill tree sort of things. We need the curse clock.
Yeah.
And we need
trials.
the trials.
That's literally it. That's literally it then.
And then the rest of it we can just kind of continue to fill out, and we can probably move the stream to like progress checks and reveals as things go along.
And we'll work one behind the scenes then.
Yeah.
Get the quick start finished.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Excellent.
Perfect.
So the navigator has reactions. So these are separate. These are examples I've put down, and they're actually pretty cool. So separate the scouts, drop them a misfortune. That'll be the main one you use. So I'll put that first. Actually, that'll be the main one. So the main navigator reaction will be dropping a misfortune on one of the scouts. Many of the scouts.
This is your toolkit. It's good.
Yeah, separating is another one. Reduce their kit. So this is when the players fail a roll, so they get a 7 or below, basically on the dice. Reduce their kit. Provide a clue. It's a positive one. Progress the curse clock. That's very negative. Complicate the trials. That's pretty negative. Make the scouts travel. Again, that's neutral. And then personify the creek, which would be really interesting. So not just the minor cryptids within the environment, but also the actual creek itself is kind of
which is wonderful. And honestly, that makes me think of different themes you see in Japanese folklore, where certain places and previously inanimate objects over time can gain some degree of sentience and autonomy on their own, which is very, very cool. And I think it fits nicely. You have different echoes of cultural stories and folklore within this game.
Yes, exactly.
Nice.
Perfect.
It's not like coded exclusively for Western storytelling, which I really, really like, because it makes it more adaptable across a broader range of audiences. Now we just need one of the cryptids to be a sentient umbrella with a hairy leg for a handle, and we're good.
Definitely. So then there's a section on the moves and badges in more depth for the navigator. So it'll just explore it in a bit more depth, so they have a real grasp of running the game. And they're not going to expect something this out of their depth then as well. Types of play. So this is, in most books, this will be a one-shot or a campaign, but we're calling it a series and an episode. So a series will be the session 0 and then 4 sessions. An episode will be the session 0 and then 1 session, obviously. And this is how it works. So this is called the curse template. So this is essentially how the game's run. So the curse is revealed in session 0, and so is the cryptid. So that will happen as in they'll discover rumors about the curse. So just the very basics, right? But they'll also hear a story from a local about a cryptid.
Yeah.
So this is the only thing they get at the beginning. This is like a hint of what it is. So there's an illustration that Lucille's finished where it shows this giant flying Nessie, basically.
Yes.
And that's the kind of thing that you'll get in session 0.
Yeah. This will be good.
No, it's not session 0, it's session 1.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's not outside the game. So so this will happen in session 1. And then the first trial session 2. So
I like presenting this as a template of how the story will flow.
Exactly. And it's important because again, it's accessibility and knowing exactly what you're doing.
And you're starting to see more games do this. So we're doing this Cryptid Creeks. We're doing this in Bard RPG as well, where you have your story map progression. And I like this. I really, really like this, and I would like to see more games do this. Because there was a certain point where homebrewing and creating your own campaigns, we all love doing it, right? But for a lot of people, it felt so daunting. And there are a lot of people who I think would make and do make absolutely fantastic GMs and storytellers, regardless of the system you use. But so many people feel like they can't, or they feel intimidated by becoming a GM or becoming the navigator for a system like this, because the idea of creating their own full campaign and story can feel so daunting. So Scribblers, you'll see some common themes in the kinds of things that we create on this channel and within our circle, especially for Rich and myself. We like to have games that help to teach storytelling, whether directly or indirectly. And I think we're seeing an increase in that sort of intent and that sort of design goal. So it's very cool to see the different ways that the indie systems out there and the up and coming indie systems are approaching this. So for example, before we hopped on stream, we were talking about a recent Kickstarter from some friends of ours, John and Bree. I don't know if you guys are in the chat or listening in, but Terminus. Absolutely beautiful game. Successful Kickstarter. It's in production. It's a solo journaling game that helps to teach storytelling and help to guide someone through the aspect of storytelling. So I really like seeing more examples of this because I think it's so important for the community and for the industry.
Agreed. I've also noticed a trend which is really brilliant of every section of the rule book having examples throughout.
That's a must.
So it's usually a cutout box. I haven't really explored it yet.
I'm using that for Bard.
Yes, exactly. But for Cryptid Creeks, it's absolutely essential because we want people to and that's the advantage of having named characters and named places throughout, because we can tie it to box out examples tied to the actual curse storyline. So again, do you know, I was talking to someone the other day about this because I was terrible at math when I was young, but absolutely terrible, because
that's why we're game designers now.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't do well with numbers at all. Like numbers on their own or equations, I have no idea how to solve them, basically. But whenever they've posed the equations in narrative form, I started to understand it. Even as simple as like this many apples and went to the market and then chopped them in half, and then how many halves of apples they have. And that stuff sounds like, you know, that's when I was very young, but like all the way through to like my college years, like whenever they post something in a story way or in some sort of narrative or visual, even a visual element, rather than 23 and equation signs, then I started to understand it. So this is kind of how I think it's important in the rule books to have examples with the rules.
It's differences in cognition. So if you look at the different principles of learning and cognition in psychology, that's absolutely a legitimate thing that I think old school education systems didn't really take into account, because it's hard to tailor to the different students. It's a lot easier to do a one-size-fits-all kind of approach, which is unfortunate, and it ends up kind of negatively impacting the learning and development of some young kids. And as adults as well, we end up growing up with these different biases of, you know, certain types of cognition are better than others, and that's not the case at all. So when if I can pull that from my memory off the top of my head and put myself on the spot here, and I'm about to embarrass myself too now. So you have things like tactile learning, you have visual, you have auditory, you have talking through things as well. All all as ways of processing information. So
that's
some
why we
people are
have
very visual,
reflection
you
in the
need
game as well.
pictures. That's why you have a reflection in
Yes,
games.
exactly.
And I think that both of us have been, and certainly within Cryptid Creeks, we're going to be taking this approach as well. We've been trying to be mindful of that in the way we are writing games and the way we are presenting games.
Yep.
And so I know I keep saying that once I am done with Bard RPG and it's out and it's you know, out there in the wild and in different homes, I'm not going to produce one of my own things for a while, but my mind still keeps coming back to Diversions. I told you about it a while ago.
Yeah,
so I've got another TTRPG kind of game that can be done solo or in a small group. And the central design theme of that is different styles of cognition and learning. That's how you interact with the game. So that's something that'll be on the back burner for the foreseeable future, because I do not have the energy to do it right now.
No,
but
I'm having
it's
to,
up there.
I'm having to what's the word? Delegate projects. I realise that now, but I always think I can do too much, and I can't. Cool, perfect. That's absolutely So I knew we'd be on the same page with that anyway. But like, it's nice to talk it through as well. So that's the curse template. That's how the sessions work and are broken down. Then we've got all we got then is sample curses, sample cryptids, customizing your game, and an index. So then there'll be appendices here first.
Yeah. What comes first, an appendix or an annex?
Don't know.
I always get that mixed up. I want to say it's appendices and then hands.
Hands.
Give us your hands.
Right, cool. Right. We're either way.
Yeah.
Good.
I like hands now. Give appendices and hands, and it's just a severed hand.
And I've started writing it, Scriv. I've started writing it all out.
Yep. So we're gonna do a quick skim of that.
Quick read through, and then we'll call it.
Yep. So you've seen the table of contents. You've stuck with us through the entire recap, and now you can see how much is actually already developed. So I would like to highlight some of the sections for us to focus on for full. Ooh. Do we need to have one on tone? Probably not an entire
No, we can
stream
do tone
episode.
And safety. With the safety tools and tone, we can do the same session.
Yeah.
Basically, because they're linked.
Yeah. Yeah, we can. We can do that. So I am looking. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you've got your scout books and stats.
The example one.
Feeling very good about those. I am looking specifically for. Yep, we have our moves, badges, and stats. Playbooks, fantastic. I want to make a list. Where can I make a list? At the very bottom?
Let's just get rid of this yellow bit at the bottom. We don't need this.
Is it all captured somewhere else now?
Yeah, we'll get rid of that.
Okay.
We'll keep the playbooks. Actually, no, I didn't realise it went further on. We'll keep everything in there for now.
Okay.
And then we can. I don't know what I've done here. That's fine. Oh, what have I done?
I don't know, but the screen keeps flashing now.
No, I think it's right. So
I didn't do it.
So yeah, we've only got down to the playbooks, but we'll need to the things we'll need to flesh out are the well, all of it basically.
We have a to-do list.
Yeah, so we just need to go through it systematically, like but things like the safety tools and tone we can do off stream.
Boat. I think so. I think those are pretty self-explanatory.
The next couple of streams need to be the trials and the curse. Basically.
Yes. And then did we want to go into...
And the boat.
We have boat and travel, and I figure we can do those at the same time because they're connected. We have trials. We have curses. Do we want to talk about the cryptids and have a full stream devoted to the cryptids?
Yeah,
including Keeper.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do we need to have one for the badges? Because we haven't fully gone into all of the badges and the different like trees and categories there yet. I guess if we're hurting for a stream, we can do that. But
for the quick start, we're just using those 9, and if someone wants to make their own one up, then they can.
Okay.
But I think after Cryptids, we should go into the Kickstarter.
Yes.
About the time that we need to do that. I've actually found someone to do our complete Kickstarter design, which is nice.
What?
I don't have to worry about mock-ups and like headers and
oh, nice. So like layout.
Yes.
For the Kickstarter campaign.
So like so the stretch goals and the awards will look good for once. Although I did put a lot of effort into Dragon Dale.
You did. It looks fantastic. What do you mean good for once? Come on, you're just outsourcing.
But it'd be nice to.
You're creating jobs in the gaming economy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
what it is.
It's actually Ashley's sister, so that's cool.
Oh, hey, nice. All right, I think that's good. So next time, let's talk about boat and travel, and we'll just go down the list.
Get us back into it, but I'm actually incredibly pleased with how this is looking.
Mm-hmm. You feeling good after we've gone through the recap?
Yeah, I think we've got the skeleton or the spine of exactly what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all it is now is just fleshing out, and that's a very easy part to do. That's a very easy part to do.
Yeah, putting meat on the bones.
Yeah, and because it's an established mechanic and system, and the dice work fine, then play testing is quite minimal as well. Actually, it still needs a lot.
Yeah.
But it's nowhere near as bad as creating a system from scratch.
We know that one.
Yeah, we both know that.
Yup.
But because it's like we're adding slight mechanics, but essentially it is still powered by the apocalypse, and it still uses moves, and it still uses the dice mechanics. It won't seem like generic in any way, shape, or form, but essentially we're adding flavour to the game.
We are, and that's what's beautiful about the basic system that is powered by the apocalypse. You can adapt it and use it in so many different contexts. And when people talk about a system and game mechanics, this is a really good example of what we mean when we say a system. So you could have a whole system, but with like a setting, a campaign setting, and a theme and a genre attached to it. But if you boil a game down to like the core of what makes it that game, you're looking at the system. You're looking at the basic decision resolution kind of mechanic. You're looking at the way you create characters and the way you interact. Mm-hmm. So for the core elements of a TTRPG, you need to know what's a character, how you build your character rather, how you use that character, and how you decide if you're successful or not.
Yeah.
It's just those 3 things.
Yeah.
That's the key. Anything else just adds to those 3 main goals of a tabletop RPG. And you're gonna see this throughout a lot of different styles of game for game design. Anytime it's an interactive thing and it's not just like a point and click narrative kind of game where you're just kind of like scrolling along, which I love, I do, but yeah. How do you make your character, how do you use your character, and how you decide if you're successful? That's it.
Basically, yeah. And we've got all those elements in abundance. I'm very excited about the boat upgrades and talking about it.
I am
combining
too.
it with making a cryptid boat, basically.
I'll have to find some appropriately seafaring music for the background for that one, I think. I'll try to make it match.
Because that's one of the unique mechanics in the game anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But if we also bring in an upgrade system, that's so cool.
I think we need boat cards. I'm not sorry.
Well, no, because the boat has its own moves. So
it has its own moves.
So they are part of the deck.
Upgrades. You gotta track upgrades for the boat.
Yeah.
It's not deck building, it's boat building.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because each playbook will have a sheet, obviously.
Yep.
Like a lovely big sheet, and then they'll also have cards for the badges that go on the sheet. You can even have space for the cards. So the boat will have badges.
Yes.
The boat has special needs.
Yeah, it fits.
Submerge and
Ooh.
also this. Communicate with marine life.
I cast speak with fish.
Exactly. How cool would that be?
That's very cool. Ooh. Ooh. All right. I think we're going to save that for boat and travel.
Yeah, we'll save that.
I will do some research into some additional nautical terms that we have not talked about yet. I think signaling flags are going to come into it.
Nice.
We're gonna have that somehow.
Okay.
Because just it's such a cool visual, and I think I can easily imagine river scouts having to learn signal flags instead of like Morse code or something.
Yeah.
Learning how to use signal flags is such a cool idea for a scout troop.
Idea. That's a great idea. Let's go with that.
Okay, let's do it. All right, I think we will call it there. Let me go back to our duet screen. That was fun. That was fun.
Amazing.
I'm really, really happy. Sorely needed. We are back on track. This is feeling good. It is feeling right.
So we've got 2 months to do the quick start.
Whew, yeah. Yeah, we can do it.
It's not a lot of time, but we can do it, definitely.
We can do it. It'll be good. And we've got the help of our Scribbler fam and all the hatchlings out there. We'll be fine. And the bears.
lots of animals.
We, a whole menagerie. I realize I've just called Scribblers animals. I'm sorry, Scribblers.
I did.
You called, that's right. You heard it here. Hatchling, how dare you? I never. Okay.
Check out this, by the way. I have to show you this.
Ooh. Ooh.
Custom dice tray.
That's gorgeous. Oh, it's gorgeous. I like it. Very nice. I will never not love and need swag
Custom stuff.
like that. Yep, dice trays, dice, all of it. Still love it. Okay. We'll call it there. Any other announcements? Anything else you'd like to share with the nice people at home?
Oh, there's actually quite a big thing that happened tonight for us. So, Dragon Dowsers is officially greenlit as of tonight. We hit £12,000.
Yes!
Which means that Ashley is going to begin on the cover. Which means that it's the first Bard RPG campaign setting to be developed, which is very exciting. And it gives us plenty of time because we won't sort of develop it till next year.
You didn't tell me this yet.
Yeah. We literally just hit £12,009.
Just now? Holy shit!
Yeah.
Hold up.
Someone's cancelled their pledge. Yeah.
I gotta hold on. I'm going to the page. Did you already send out an update for it?
Nope.
Ah!
So I'll do an update now.
That's so cool. Okay.
So yeah, we've only got one stretch goal to go, and we've got a big video coming out.
Look at the stretch
Saturday.
goals. Yes! Dragon Dowser's stretch goal for £12,000. Willow's Quest will illustrate a cover for the Bard RPG campaign setting.
Yay!
Y'all, the very first Bard RPG campaign setting. Bard RPG is not even fully done out in the wild yet, but I feel like I could cry. That's amazing. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, that'll be a whole nother series of game design.
That's way
streams.
Way off
That'll
in the
be
future.
later.
But that's our next project after this.
Oh my word. Okay, folks, I'm dropping that in the chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, I will I'll include the link in the description just so you can see it since we're referencing it. So go check that out. We have... How much more time is left on this?
20 days or something?
20 days. As of this day of recording, the 8th of June, 2023. There are 20 days left in the Dragon Dazzler Kickstarter. So if you're enjoying the content we have here, if you like to see more of this and support more and more and more wonderful projects that we're creating, yeah, go check out that Kickstarter. And keep coming back. So like I said, this is probably going to be the last stream on this channel specifically, with some exceptions. I will still come back here every now and then, but starting with the next stream, hopefully next week, we'll see. We're going to take a look at our schedules. I'm going to give live streaming on YouTube a try, since all of our stuff is supposed to transfer over there to that channel anyway. Speaking of, for those of you who are catching us on Twitch right now, go check out our YouTube channel. If you're here watching from YouTube, go check out the library, because you can see the whole series of the game design episodes and chill creation sessions there. So this is session 7. Go check out sessions 1 through 6. Hit like and subscribe. That's a thing streamers and YouTubers say, right? Am I gonna have to say that? Like and subscribe, y'all.
You have to be on YouTube when you're on YouTube, yeah.
You know what to do. You know it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for spending some time with us today. So happy to have you here and to be creating and telling stories all together. It's wonderful. Thank you, Rich. I love it.
Thank you.
I cherish these times where we're creating stories together, and you know, here's to many, many more. For years to come, literal years.
Oh, yeah.
You're not getting rid of me anytime soon.
No, only. We'll continue until we drop off the earth.
Ooh, till we go find some cryptids. All right.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, morning, wherever you are, whatever time zone you're watching this from. Keep adventuring, keep scribbling, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye,
Love you
everyone.
guys.
Cheers.